So a lot of people are complaining about the government and how they don't listen to the people, and how the government is far away, and ordinary people have no influence on policy, and they're all just crooks and liars, and they take the money for themselves, and how democracy is failing ordinary people, and how they feel powerless and without influence, even if they do go and vote every 4 years or every 2 years, whatever. And in a way that's true, and there's another way in which we can actually, what we can do to make sure that doesn't happen. And we, the people, we decide, we hold the power. First of all, we vote every 2 or 4 years. So we can decide what kind of people and what kind of platform and what kind of policies we want to vote for. But what has been the problem for a long time is that we have a lot of politicians and political parties, and they all of them do not have the platform that we want. In fact, they have the platform that serves the rich and the powerful and the big companies. And whether you're left or right, Democrat or Republican, they all seem to have the same policies in the end. Though the Democrats are a bit more for the people, and for better health care and education and welfare. And the Republicans are pretty much for, every man for himself. And if you're rich, you don't have to pay taxes. And if you're poor, you have to pay a lot of taxes. And the same goes for political parties in Europe, the left or right, socialist, conservative, but they're often just rehashing the same problems and solutions time after time after time. And that is also because the civil servant that serves them is just, dusting off the old policy papers, and we just getting the same solutions to the same problem, even when it's not a good definition of the problem, and there are a lot of other solutions which might be better. But you have to have a lobbyist or somebody to get them to choose your solution or even get it noticed. Anyway. So how do we break this cycle of government just running around in circles with the same problems and solutions without actually fixing something? Well, very simple. We, the people, have the power, and what do we have? We have internet. That's the thing. We haven't had that before. All the time, all our lives, we've been dependent on civil servants and policymakers and lobbyists and people with money to influence the politicians, and etc. But now we have the internet, and we can use it to use it for real democracy, not just freedom of information, which we desperately need, because right now all our information is coming from a handful of big companies who own the internet and all the communication channels. So we only get to see what they want us to see. So we need to get back to the old dream of democracy and internet feeding on each other. And we can do that. I have this idea is that somebody, some bright students or universities or whatever, or even company, creates a website. So you need some guys who know how to make a website, and you need some servers to put the website on, and some guys and gals who moderate the website. But basically, something like wiki, a sort of wiki pages where you basically have a page. It doesn't have to be one page. It doesn't have to look a certain way. That was my phone. Anyway, so what you have like a notebook, and it has 3-4 columns. So on the first column, you say problem. And there, everybody can add a problem, number 1 to 3,000, can add a problem, and then other people can go and analyze the problem and say, oh, what is really happening here? What's the real problem, etc., etc. So first, somebody proposes a problem, and then all the scientists and analysts and whatever can help analyze this problem, and then all the scientists and bright people and policymakers, etc. On the second column, it says solution. So you take the problem, you analyze it, and then you propose all different kinds of solutions. And there's not one solution, so it's one problem and then solution, A, B, C, D, E. That's the second column. And everybody from the whole world, if you speak English or translate it into English, you can give your solutions, and and then the third is the project plan. So you have the problem, you have solution number A, and then somebody who's a manager or a planner or who's really good at making plans and project plans and financial calculations, etc. They take number A, B, C, D, and you make a project plan. So if you want to implement solution number A, then you have to have this much money, you have to have these laws, etc., etc. And then the fourth column is actually the lawyers and the experts who make a concept law. Who say, oh, well, if you want to have a law that says such and such, well, here I've written it for you. So the fifth step is actually in Parliament. So you take the law and you take the financial calculations and you print it out, you put a staple through it, and you bring it to the Senate and the Parliament, and they say, well, vote on it. Here you have it, all done. And then the members of Parliament can vote on it. It's that easy. You don't need civil servants. Basically, you're doing what civil servants are supposed to do. Only you're not taking the expertise and experience of maybe 100 people. You're taking the expertise and creativity and experience and skills of the whole world, because everybody can contribute. You can write the whole thing, or you just write one article, which is analyze this, or everybody can contribute, and we can all what we can do is we can make a separate voting page where we just put the solution A, B, C, D, E with its practical implementation. So can we afford it? And is it, with all the pros and cons attached to that solution. And then people can vote on which solution they like best. And we'll have to do it per country because we still have, local government and state government, but we can do it for the EU and federal and state and whatever. But if you live in a state or federal or a city or country, then you can simply log in with your digital ID, social security number, and you can vote. And then if a certain proposition or a certain law has many votes, that will be a great opportunity for members of parliament or political parties to say, we're gonna adopt this proposal and we're gonna put it forward and we're gonna vote for it. Because not only we think it's the best solution, but it actually is the preferred solution of the people. They already voted for it. So the thing is, right now we're relying on civil servants who've been rewriting the same bills and propositions for 30 years, and only a handful of people, a few hundred, or maybe only a handful of managers who run the ministries decide this proposal gets to parliament and this doesn't. Because that's what's happening right now. The head of the ministry will say, well, to his employees, his civil servants, I want you to write a bill which says ABC. And then he gives that to the minister, and the minister sells it to parliament. So this one civil servant, this one manager who runs the ministry, actually decides for the whole population and what bills to accept, what solutions to what problems. So we build our own website, and I'm sure the smart people out there who can build such a website and maintain it and make sure it doesn't get destroyed, protect it and monitor it. And I'm sure there's some people who have servers and space to host these sites, because we build one per country. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there like me who, because they work in a certain area or whatever, or just smart or studied or just had a bright idea. I'm sure that many people have many sensible, cheap, efficient solutions to our problem. But nobody hears them because ordinary people just, sit in a bar and say, oh, government doesn't listen to me. And it's true, they don't. They have the head of the ministry who tells them what to do, and that's all the politicians care about. So that's how we can get power to the people, is to use the internet, what it should be used for, not to sell me stuff, useless plastic stuff, but to analyze and solve our problems and basically help our politicians. And then we don't need all those civil servants and policymakers and lobbyists, etc., because the people will simply choose those solutions which are efficient, quick, easy, and cheap. You know, so we will be saving money on a lot of civil servants, and we will reintroduce real democracy. It is that easy. It really is that easy. So please, somebody, some bright kids, some bright students at the university, build this website, one for each country. And some people who own servers, please donate the space on your servers and create a true democracy.